We're happy to be here today as members of the Washington Consumers for Sound Policy organization, part of the coalition. And we're members of that coalition because we care about the impacts of a low carbon fuel standard on the state of Washington and the serious concerns that we have for that standard and what it means to our members and the impact on fuel prices and how that's extrapolated out through the economy.
As you would all imagine, small business is very concerned about what's going to happen with the low carbon fuel standard. There doesn't seem to be much question that prices for fuel will go up. The question really is by how much. And we've determined that depending upon the amount of increase in the price of fuel, we could see as many as about 11,600 jobs lost. Now, the governor's office likes to say that you won't see that kind of a job loss because we're going to phase this in. Well, try looking any family in the face and telling them, well, gee, because your job might not be lost until tomorrow or next year, that it's going to hurt less. We don't think that's the case, and we think that we need to have an open conversation with the citizenry of Washington State to talk about the real cost of a low carbon fuel standard. And we'd also like to hear from the governor's office what the real measurable improvement to our economy and to our environment would be were we to proceed down that path.
Like a policy of this magnitude should be in the legislative process and not in with the executive branch. We are, the 6th lowest state in the nation in terms of carbon emissions, 0.3% global greenhouse gas emissions. We're going to continue to do that because our state's very innovative. So I just think we need to slow down, take a look at it, and really study it and involve everybody. And I'm afraid that the proposal going through Department of Ecology, even though they work really hard at having stakeholder involvement, just isn't going to give it the kind of scrutiny that it deserves.
Our concern with the low carbon fuel standard is the cost. The cost on our industry is just too great. History tells us that just 5% biofuel can average 2 to 5 cents per gallon more expensive than straight diesel. When we experimented with biodiesel in the years past, we found that we also lost efficiencies, and this also added to operating costs. Not only am I concerned with the cost to our industry, but also the cost as a consumer. This additional cost would no doubt have to be passed on, as the transportation industry touches just about everything we see.
While parts of our state like Seattle may be booming economically, there are many other areas in our state where people are still struggling. Many areas, especially in the rural communities, haven't yet recovered from the recession, and the people and companies in those areas remain vulnerable to economic shocks. The low carbon fuel standard is going to impose more costs on the people who can least afford it. Sure, the street price of fuel is low today, but I've been in this business a long time and I know that these low prices will not be around forever.